All right, so guys, we're live. So if you would like to go ahead and start sharing while we wait a little bit, I I what else was I say? Like everybody else be, they have their little intro music playing in the background and stuff. Yeah, I don't have that type of music, so. So I do apologize, you guys that come in while you're waiting, while we sit up here and sharing and whatnot. But I think my voice sounds a little bit better than Michael Jackson and SZA and her.
Well, I will be there for your Grammy ceremony.
Yeah, throw it off the stage.
Hey, don't forget about me, man.
Yeah,
you guys, little people.
All right, let me see. Do one. I don't know. A lot of folks been complaining about Facebook and their algorithm and whatnot, and not popping up and when you're doing lives and going out to folks. But they've always done me like that, so I always get put in jail. So I can't share but one time.
Oh wow,
bruh. If I share over 2 times, they lock me out of my account. They send me something saying that, oh, by the way, somebody's been on your account doing this suspicious activities. And then I go back and I look, say, bro, that's all me. Oh, yeah, set your password.
Yeah, one of my other friends, he's always in Facebook jail. I was like, I don't know what y'all been doing in Facebook jail. I've never been in Facebook jail.
Bro, it is not fun whatsoever. It's not fair.
So I've heard.
I think I've been there once, but I'm not.
You know what? If you got to think about it, Miss Evelyn, no, you've never been there.
I've never been there.
You've never been there. You've never been there. It's hell. You don't want to go. They don't feed you. The showers are awful.
Man. And then folks would be like, it is so funny. And I hate to be mean, but it's like, I guess folks have been in jail and been off for about a week or whatever. And they're like, okay, I'm back. I'm like, I didn't even know you left.
Yep.
I didn't even know you left.
Yeah. I've seen that happen. I've been people who posted, yeah, I'm out of Facebook jail. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, that's about like me. All right, so guys, not going off of the actual title, off of the poster, more of an abbreviation. Men, benefits with no intent to commit. This episode is basically, guys, for those that are watching, that may watch, I've constantly these past couple of weeks, especially during my little pop-ups, if y'all don't know who I am, I do baked goods in Albany, Georgia. I talk to a lot of couples and a lot of singles, and this past week or two, I've talked to a couple of women that talked about how men love to be beneficial but refuse to commit. And so I wanted to talk about that, but on both sides of the spectrum. So this week we're focusing on men, and then next week we're going to do our last episode of the season. We're going to be focusing on the woman's side of the spectrum. So I'm going to go ahead and play our lovely intro and let you guys introduce yourself. Give me one moment. All right, guys, welcome to the Sofa Talk, the SofaReal Talk. I'm sorry, I can't say my own title, my own show. The SofaReal Talk, and today we have, if it doesn't matter who starts first, introduce yourself, please.
I'll begin. I am Evelyn Whitney, author of the book TruthSpeak, Some Real Reasons Men and Women Don't Communicate.
Awesome.
We can't hear you, Brian.
Brian, you got me on mute?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I did put on mute for a second to say something to my son in the background earlier, but I am Brian, resident Beanie Boy, educator.
Okay, cool. Brian, y'all get ready to end school, right?
Well, yeah, but I decided to sign up to teach summer school. Me and my relentless pursuit of the bag. I can't turn this money down. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So I basically gonna have like 5 days off, and then I'm back at it.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, so if you think about relationships, the dynamic has changed. And like I was stating a little bit earlier on the intro of how I've talked to a couple of women and how they express about men and dating, I went to go online to see if I can find more information out about outside of my own opinion about men and benefits and not wanting to commit. And I came across a website where they were saying, and it's called post.np. But they was talking about while guys' interest in a woman would normally be to woo her, date her, get her into a relationship with him, and do relationship things with the intention of getting married. Somewhere down the line, things are not very much the same anymore. Can y'all agree with that?
Yes, at large, yes. There are some people who still have that as an objective, but the shift to which society is slowly moving is getting further and further away from genuine one-to-one committed relationships.
And what about you, Brian?
I feel like it's a combination of things. I do agree that the shift is happening, but I also think that the shift in gender equity and different things have also contributed to why that shift is starting to move. It's not just a societal thing where the images or what they're pushing, but also too newer factors come into play. You're talking about the gender equity, especially from jobs, employments, to just being able to now explore their own options. Women being able to explore their own options without the dependence upon a man, I think also has shifted that as well.
I get you know what? I seriously didn't think about that part. So with you just saying that actually I can see how that can play a more deeper part when it comes down to the structure of a relationship too. Not not to offend anybody. It's just that because you see a lot of that on TV now. A lot of it is expressed more on TV, which I understand. It's everybody's trying to cater to everybody, and so we dive into the first point: relationships. First bullet point on that. Back then, approach her, date her, in which allows you to get to know her to some degree. Initiate titles, meaning identify the established relationship. So, like in the beginning of the show, when I stated what men would normally do when it came down to courting, we all just agreed, kind of pretty much that's what it was back then. And do y'all kind of, in your own opinion, can you size up when you felt that things start changing and how or why?
Can I jump in here for a quick thing? For the purposes of our discussion, so that no one is confused, I want to try and identify a few terms. One, if people are dating casually, that means they're just friends. There's no intention, there's no moving forward, there's no anything like that. They're just spending time together, just friends. If they're dating exclusively, that means that they've committed to each other and it is an established relationship. One person is not seeing other people, they're not moving through individual partners. It is an exclusive dating commitment. That is what dating exclusively is. Mm-hmm. We get to courting, that changes these things just a little bit, because in most situations, courting has a very religious context. It's the seeking of God's blessing on their union as they move toward marriage. Some people use the words dating exclusively and courting interchangeably, but they don't really mean the same things.
Well, thank you for correcting me, because I felt like that's what courting
is. Yeah, I thought that too. I thought they were synonymous.
No, not really. The difference is this. Some people can date in exclusive relationships and be satisfied there. Mm-hmm. They don't have an intention toward moving toward marriage. All they wanted was that structured relationship, and then that's enough. Mm-hmm. When people are moving toward marriage, courting is the term that's given to it. But again, that usually carries the religious context of praying together to see if God would bless that union and if that's what he wants for those two people. Most courtships do end in marriage, but if God says no, then that courtship should dissolve. Many times it doesn't, because people have invested, they've done what they think they should have done, so they're going to move forward anyway. The true meaning of a courtship is for people to sit together to learn if God would approve them being married. That is a different step than just dating exclusively, which may not have any romantic marital intention.
And I would like to jump in and add, like you said, and if God isn't blessing it, then it shouldn't happen. But people, like you said, I think what you get caught up is that they do things that's reserved for marriage in exclusive relationships and even in casual relationships.
That's right.
So they're operating out of their level.
That's right.
And they wonder why things don't go the way they go. But that's a whole nother study for the other day. I want to get back to Larry's point about when it changes. I think how it changed, it all depends on intent to begin with. You know, what was the person's intention going into, you know, getting to know this person?
Yep.
Did you have intentions on seeing where it could go? Or were you just kind of sort of flying by the seat of your pants and just kind of, you know, if it happens, it happens? Or did you never have, or your only intent was just to kick it and have a little fun, but you were too cheap and shit to tell someone that that's what it really was from the get-go? Or on the other flip side, maybe the person did say what it was, but you yourself decided that, oh, well, I'm good enough to get them to change their mind. And then when it didn't happen and they still went back to the whole, well, you know, we're not really together, then now you're heartbroken. But the truth of the matter is that person pretty much said what it was from the get-go, but you still wanted to put a square peg in a round hole. So I think as far as when it changes, it depends on what the intent was to begin with, going in on both parties, and what has been explicitly, not implicitly, but explicitly communicated. Because a lot of times we try to get implied reasons and stuff. And the truth of the matter is, you need to ask that person so you'll know for sure, versus what you think their actions are really saying.
Absolutely.
And I could definitely understand that and agree with that. And some of that actually goes into the next week episode when you talk about the intent. Lisa says, well said. And so not to dive deep into that, because I definitely want to leave that to next week, the intent part. So if you look at the now is what, and goes to it. What are your intentions with her? Friend her with allowed benefits, enjoy one night stand with her, never to see her again, and or maybe decide to have a relationship with her afterwards at some point. Because if you want to be honest, nowadays people are quickly laying up with each other before they even decide if they're going to get in a relationship with each other. So
one thing about that, and this point kind of blends the two, the current one that we're discussing and the one that we recently moved away from. I remember on somewhere in social media land, I saw a video that charted the progress through hip hop and rap music about the messages that the men wanted to deliver to women. In the 80s, late 80s, 90s, the message was about, I want to love you, I want to protect you, I want to hold you, I want to caress you, I want to provide for you, I want to share with you, I want you to be that person by my side all the time. Yep. And then from that, it moved to from the 90s into the 2000s. Let me hit you up. Let's just have this fling. It's not going to be anything, but here we go. I like you. Let's do it like this. And then that'll be the end of it.
Yes.
By the time it got to the 2010s and into now, it's just the music is just so explicit about the sexual intention without any other attachment between the two people. I'm at this club. You look good. Let's go to the back. Let's hit it. I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe, maybe not. So yes. if we're trying to put some time frames to it, as far as the societal progression goes, it would be that in the 80s and the late 70s and 80s, you had these songs that were strictly about sex, but that was the exception to the rule. Generally, people were talking about love and commitment and future and being together and building something. But as it has shifted on up through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, the songs that are about love and commitment are now the exception. And what you regularly hear is just about sex. And that's the timeline of the change that I would attach to that question about when it's changing. And like Brian said, those stages have application in each individual's decision, but even society at large, those will be the decades and the time periods and the windows that I would pinpoint to identify the shift.
And what I've also noticed too, Dr. Evelyn, and me and my wife and I, we talk about this all the time. And because of these things, there's now been a shift, in my opinion, to where now the institution of marriage has been attacked.
Absolutely.
And so now that you see that happening, that coincides with the shift in the music, because the truth of the matter is the institution of marriage, nothing's perfect. Yeah. And what happens is what people do is they take one isolated example of a bad marriage, either they've been in or that they've witnessed, and they assign a generalization that marriage is that, or they decide that because there's a risk involved that you may have to go through something similar, that you would rather you become risk averse, but yet you still want the semblance of marriage in relationships. And the thing that I can't stand is people always say that marriage is just a piece of paper.
Right.
Well, they give me access to your bank account since your bank statement every month is just a piece of paper.
Yep.
Give me access to it. Okay. Since your pay stub is just a piece of paper, let me get access to my funds. Because if it's just a piece of paper anyway, then the funds are working anyway, so you ain't got no use for them. You might as well be using it. And people say dumb stuff like that all the time.
Absolutely.
And so, but yet see what people want. To be honest with you, and I'm gonna say this because if people know me, I ain't perfect. I don't make mistakes. We all know that. We ain't talking about it. What I will say is that and I lost my train of thought quick. What I will say is that people want something that looks like it. You want all the privileges of what marriage is, but you don't want any other responsibility.
Right.
And honestly, the reality is you can't have it that way. There were certain ways I moved when I was dating someone that I did not. There's certain ways that I moved in marriage that I did not move when I was just dating someone, even if we were exclusive. And then there were ways that I moved when I was dating somebody that I didn't move when I was just casual. Well, the problem is people keep trying to put a square peg in a round hole. They think that if they move that way, which honestly represents marriage, represents courtship, that you'll reap the benefits of it without having any responsibility. And then what happens is when reality hits them later, that couple or individual in that relationship, now they're at the blind side, but the truth of the matter is you didn't operate the right way from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Ms. Cheryl states absolutely correct with some of the information that you guys were saying prior to now and now. Lisa says exactly, people have changed how love is viewed and used. Definitely more about how you benefit me on this day and age, and also added right, making love and relationships unlike the old days. Marriage and longevity of relationships was long standing. Everything is quick and fast now. If they end stuff so quick, and again, we're going into the next point where friends with benefits. I came across another website which was the title was weird. Kids Help Phone Stats. They state the difference from dating and friends with benefits is generally when you're dating someone and have special feelings for them, kind of like what Miss Evelyn was stating earlier. Key special feels for them. In the friends with benefit scenario, you're just friends who hang out and sometimes have sex or be intimate with each other. People who are friends with benefits may be free to date other people. The physical stuff they do is usually no strings attached. They're not necessarily committed to each other. One of these three things is not multiple or are happening with two people. When two people find themselves in friends with benefits, basically summing it up as in, you have the difference where dating, like y'all was basically just stating, dating is just like getting to know someone versus the friends with benefits where anything goes. You sit down and you have a conversation. Normally, some people don't even have the conversation. They're just friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That is true. That is true. And you are correct that it is also very unfortunate. It's the idea that people can have this physical relationship, again, without the responsibility of what that type of interaction entails. I'm going to say this, and some of it we may need to say for next week, but most of the time that benefits only the man, because women at large are still told you have a soul connection with every person that you ever make love with. You're never supposed to forget your first. And if one woman sleeps with 5 men in her life, she's a whore. But if a man has 5 in a week, somebody's wondering, is he sick? He's kind of slow. What's wrong? That number's kind of low for him. So this whole friends with benefits scenario is designed to enable men to have sex without being committed to that person. And I don't know what the benefit of that is to women who are seeking something more, and then they get lost in trying to use that sexual relationship to establish more, and then upset that it never works, like Brian was saying earlier.
I was just going to say to add to that, and that's something that we're definitely going to dive into at the end when it comes to how women hold themselves accountable for and I get to where it used to be for me. A lot of women used to have the statistic form of, if you're not with somebody, something's wrong with you.
There's a lot of women still believe that. That's not the fact at all. A lot of women still believe that.
Wow.
And they use it to attack other women. That's the bad thing about it. if you recognize as a woman that you're not in a relationship for whatever reason that you're not, and then some guy thinks that you're not because something's wrong with you, that's one thing. But when a woman who can bear your same burden, not being in a relationship, also treats you like there's something wrong with you because you don't have a relationship, that's confusion.
Well, I think, and I think when we have in a society have made women's worth based on so much of their physical features and their ability and willingness to have sex. So what happens is there are women who have self-esteem issues who then feel like once they get married that they're better than other women. Like, at least I'm not like them. But I want to come back. I want to circle back to a point you made, Dr. Evelyn. To me, a lot of times friends with benefits ends badly because you weren't friends to begin with, or you didn't do things to establish a friendship. I've been in friends with benefit situations before, and we are still, and me and those women are still cool. There's no grudges or anything like that. But that's also because in the process of us hanging out, I did establish a friendship. And then it got to the point where, okay, well, we both have moved on. We ended up stopping with the physical intimacy, but because we were friends, we were still able to talk to one another. Another point I want to make is, and I tell my single women friends this all the time. If you are someone who's looking for something of substance, stop settling for casual relationships. Yeah. You're not built for it. And I'm not saying that there are some women who are built for something like that, right? They're built for that. But if you're not built for that, stop settling for that. And then my thing is, and then some of them say, well, it didn't start out that way. If you're getting fooled by every guy you're dealing with, then you have to reevaluate your intelligence, your spirit of discernment and intelligence when it comes to this thing, because can't nobody fool that many times. I mean, come on now. But also, and the third point I want to make, and I'm shut up. The third point I want to make is this, and I tell people all the time: everybody wants a promotion. Whether it's the dude who wants it to completely benefit him, because then guys do get jealous with women who they don't have any intention on having anything with. They get jealous, ego comes to play if that woman starts talking to somebody else, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing about everybody wants a promotion. You can't spend that much time with a person, and sex is a soul tie, and people take that lightly. Sex is a soul tie, so you can't spend that much time and have that much sex, and don't let it be great sex with someone and not want a promotion of some sort.
Man,
you're fooling yourself if you think otherwise.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because again, that goes into the next episode as well, because I hear it's kind of like I cringe, and I hear this a lot from women when they sit up here and say, oh, I'm good, I can have sex with someone without being emotionally attached to them. And my question for that is that maybe I can understand that if it was one time and you never talk to that person ever again. But if you're constantly doing something with that person, for me, I feel at some point you've got some form of emotional attachment, even if it's just small, because you wouldn't be doing this person over and over again.
I have several thoughts I want to say about that. First, the idea that a woman is sexually soul tied to a man through sex with a stronger version of that tie than he is tied to her is a societal problem.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the reasons that women are often victimized in the whole worth question, like we talked about before. And it makes the point that because women are exploited for certain sensibilities that we have, those things are then turned against us. And we're told things like, you don't have the emotional capacity to have sex with more than one man and not make one of them mean something. This is a very graphic and bad example, but it makes the point. There are women who have heard those things imposed upon her from society, and because of her own resilience and because of her own position have said, you want to bet?
Yeah.
And then they begin these promiscuous activities, and they're not really making any connections with those people because they've decided not to. And in that same vein, in many cases, that is how men function. They have sex with people without an intention to attach, and then they don't. The woman can do that as well. She's just not societally expected or respected for doing the same thing. I am not at all saying that either of those practices is correct. I am making the point that because it is usually imposed upon women that we can't have sex with a person and not want it to be something more than that implication is placed upon men. And that is one of the disparities in how men and women specifically deal with that relationship aspect, where the outlying perspective is men can have sex with thousands of women, never leave their souls anywhere that they've lain down to have this sex. But the two men in this woman's life will have some part of her for the rest of hers. That is not an equal application of how important that activity is, man to woman.
But I also believe too, though, that men are fooling themselves that they don't think that they have a soul tie too. Because if that's the case, then why do you keep coming back around when that woman is moving on, trying to get over your behind? But you can't stand that.
Or get jealous when somebody else comes to the picture. And I feel that's the emotional attachment.
And we have to be honest, that is an emotional attachment, because if you really didn't have that, then that really wouldn't bother you.
I completely agree with that. I'm not saying any part of what you're saying is wrong. That very notion of the male expression of a soul tie is not given that same value as it would be to women. Mm-hmm. They act like that. They do the very things that you are describing, but what that's called usually is their pride. That's their ego. They're just you've seen these guys who don't want to commit to a woman, but won't let her move on.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing that you all are talking about, but where they put that is just convenience. I want to keep her attached to me and open to me for as long as I possibly can. So anytime I get ready for her,
God's benefiting off of it, basically. Yeah.
Right. It's the same concept, but not given the same weight of value.
Okay. Well, Lisa states that Friends with Benefits used to be a hookup website. Wow. Okay. I didn't know that. Quick way to find someone with no attachments, no responsibilities. That. Wow. She also states that makes me feel good and make me feel good and leave me be. Yeah. Miss Janice agreed with amen. Miss Lisa also stated women are with men and still feel that they are not enough or something is wrong with them, especially if they are unfulfilled in a relationship. Miss Kelsey also said correct. Miss Janice said preach. Miss Lisa, double standards. Men get caught up too, so long as it benefits me. Basically, what we were just stating, and it's weird for me because I talked to her about this, and it's funny because I call myself weird because, not to throw any of my friends up under the bus, I've had a few friends where I used to be like, I don't see how, they can go through the commandments like that. Like that. I couldn't go to the reindeer games, and I still can't because I'm not that type of person. I've always, once I found myself laying down with someone, I'm attached, and so I can't go through the process of being attached. Saying that we might break up. We might not break up, a few years later or anything, but I just can't see myself getting in, and that's not knocking anybody else in their routine. I just confine myself doing that. So if we go to the bullet points off of that, where looking at the definitions of special feelings, to love or have affection for someone, it's kind of hard. Basically, off of what we were just explaining, how society has played the relationship game on everybody, you really don't see people, and it has surprised me when I'm seeing, especially young people holding hands, and I have to stop and I actually sit and I compliment them and I say thank you for showing that form of affection, especially being that young, like early 20s. They mostly showing affection with them is like hitting them upside the head or playing pranks on each other.
I think that also too in music, the way the music has gone now, I think PDA has been frowned down upon.
Yeah.
Almost to the point where, back in the day, it used to be, I hate to say this because I can make a generalization, but it seemed as if women were the leaders in PDA back in the day, and now even PDA and expecting chivalry, and nowadays it seems as if that they don't really care for the chivalry, and that they too nowadays aren't really with the PDA. But I just think that's because of the music, the influences of what we watch on TV, everything that says that any sign of PDA or outward affection, now you're the weaker one. So everyone wants to maintain this false sense of strength. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's why it's so rare now that everyone wants to still be in a position of power in the relationship. We've reduced relationships to a power struggle between men and women, and it's hurting us. It's hurting society, and it's hurting what our children see as they view us when we interact with someone of the opposite sex who we're supposed to be romantically linked to. It is crippling them and their ability to express themselves in relationships, and also too to be comfortable with that with someone who they really truly care about.
Yes,
absolutely. I fully agree with that.
I'm saying that's something I really try to do. It's something I sit down and I talk to Lisa about. Definitely when it comes to, I know I messed up at an early age throughout my relationship. That's something that I learned, and I realized looking at my parents, I see why it was hard for me to get to where I am now, because I didn't see it. It's like right now, I still see them as being roommates. Mm-hmm. And you find that heavily in the Black community where, and I get there's a lot of people talk about how their parents, how their grandparents stayed together for 60, 40 some years, but they stand in separate rooms. And they stayed in separate rooms that long period of time. And the only thing that they're looking at is the longevity of, I'm saying that word wrong, but they're looking at it and just looking at the years versus what was shown. Mm-hmm. And that's basically how I see my parents. Yeah, I'm happy that you guys years in, but you didn't show me anything. But then I had to also realize that their parents didn't raise them to be in a relationship as well.
Can I jump in right quick, Larry?
Yep.
It is because of this that me and my wife intentionally make sure our kids see us show affection towards one another. So, for example, one night I was putting my daughter down to bed, and I said, "Okay, then we gotta hurry up." I said, "Daddy has a Law & Order date with mommy." And then she said, "You have a Law & Order date?" So what y'all gonna do? She said, "I'm just gonna watch Law & Order." I said, "It's a show we like to watch." And she said, "So y'all leaving?" I said, "No, we're gonna be downstairs on the couch in the living room. I need to go to bed so I get my date." And she said, "Well, what are you gonna do on this date? Just watch TV? That sounds boring." I said, "Well, no." I said, "We might do some other stuff." She said, "Are y'all gonna kiss?" I said, "Yeah, we're gonna kiss." He said, "Y'all gonna lay on each other?" I said, "Yes." And so watching her and my youngest son imitate us while we're showing affection While I listen to them now, I'm hoping that years later it'll be seared in their mind how to show love to someone who you are with. And because, I was raised in a single parent household, and my mom was dating this guy, but I didn't see a lot of healthy relationships. But I did see healthy relationships in my aunts and uncles. So I did have those examples of that, and I drew from them. And then other my friends, my friends who parents were still together, and they didn't mind showing that too. So I picked up on those things. So that's how I was able to see it. But I was like, let me make sure my children see it and understand it too. So we kind of joke about it with them, but I'm just trying to plant some seeds so they can see a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And that's what we do. Well, I try to make sure that I can show her kids that, hey, I love your mom. And when you decide, if you ever decide, and we've had the talks a couple of times, if you ever decide that you want, whenever you are officially able to date, you have a blueprint, or one of those sense of how a dad shows his daughter, don't settle for nothing less than someone treating you like your worth, and you knowing your worth enough to say, you know what, you just ain't, you ain't doing right by me. You're not treating me how I should be treated. I'm gonna let this go. And that's including with what we're basically talking about, when men's just basically coming in, and a lot of women, I've been approached. Actually, to be honest, my previous marriage started off with, just let me know what your intentions is with me. If you just want to do that, we can just do that. But if you want to do something else, then and again, like I stated, I'm not that person that I've never really been the person that wanted to jump around and stuff. So all of my intentions have been dating. And so I that kind of pushed a lot of people away, which I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You guys talked about some of the other bullet points already with the intimate and not necessarily committed to each other. So I'm gonna skip those and jump into the end point, since we're kind of close to the end, so we can talk about that a little bit. The end point is not excusing women from this act, because as much as we can blame the man for only seeking a woman for the selfish moments of gratification, a woman still has the upper hand to say no, keeping her integrity intact. So society has played a huge part in the reason why most men have comfortably embraced the idea of a woman being okay with giving herself up, not looking to receive any form of financial, emotional, and or physical stability from the beneficial partner, has opened many confusing doors. Can y'all see how? And I think you kind of said that a little bit earlier.
I have a question on the content that we're discussing right now, and it's kind of a rhetorical question made for statement purposes, but you say that the woman still has the upper hand to say no and keep her integrity intact.
Mm-hmm.
Objectively, that is true. I try to tell women that they have as many options for the way that their relationship will be conducted as the men do. That they don't have to just cower and bow and curtsy at his snapping of a finger, because having a man is supposed to be what gives you your worth. No, that is not the case. You have as many options to walk away if you are not happy as he does. As true as that is, society has not enabled women in that way. There is still that aspect of the imposition onto women that you have to have a relationship in order to be valuable, or if you don't, there's something wrong with you. You're broken, you're bitter, you're crazy, you're dysfunctional. When you become lonely, then you're desperate, and all these awful things that are imposed upon women more heavily than they ever will be upon a man. So objectively, yes, the woman is still responsible for deciding that she doesn't want to have a certain kind of relationship. But is she enabled to make that decision? Is she enabled to take advantage of the fact that the decision is hers? In most cases, okay, in many cases, do not feel thus empowered. And when they do, because they have education, because they have these high paying jobs, because they then make the decision, what happens? She is labeled. You let your money control you. You're not really a woman. You're masculine, and you're all these times you're trying to become a man and take his role and things like that. So we have to look at the whole context and say that even if women are making these bad decisions, not that it's justified, but there are certain societal conditions that speak to the reasons that she's making the decisions. Not that they're excuses, but they're factors in that decision that we can say that she has the option and the freedom, but really she's not enabled to exercise that option and that freedom without some backlash. Either way she decides.
So what I hear you saying is that basically women are culturally oppressed in that regard because the culture, the pressures of the culture weigh more heavily than the objectivity of the choice that they have naturally. It's kind of like, if you're at a job and you have the choice to whistleblow, they say they have these things in place to protect you, but deep down, truth be told, the way the culture of the organization is, it might cost you a whole lot more in the long run to operate under this ideal sense of morality. Then, so yeah, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you 100%.
So Janice states that her parents showed affection until her dad died, and they were good in their 70s, which that is cool. Again, you really, and it's an unfortunate thing, again, not to point and pick at the Black community. A lot of our parents were not ideal relationship showing blueprints. Lisa says now she going back to basically what you said. Now she's bougie of being a man, right? I can agree with the with TruthSpeak. And she also states right with basically what you guys were saying. Ms. Jalissa also stated true. So to go back to what you were saying, the reason why I stated that in that sense, and it's funny because I reactivated my TikTok, and so I'm doing the sofa on the TikTok as well. And my first video that I did that's at 62,000+ views, where I stated a man knows when he see, and we talked about this already on one of the shows about how a man knows when he looks at a woman where he wants to place her. And a lot of women responded with, but it's still up to the woman if she's going to agree with that and say yes or no. But like you just stated, the society has, and Brian, oppressed, where even though they feel that I have this control, they don't use it because that backlash.
There is so much. Okay, I was a part of a workshop this past weekend, and there was a question posed about if you are, whether or not you feel like you're doing right by being single. And there you could enter your answer, and then everybody would see the summary of the answers, not individual answers, but it was a poll.
Okay.
There were several people who said, as a single person, I am not in the will of God. And when they asked that question again, can you expound on that? What do you mean? Where are you coming from? What is your perspective on that? They put the poll back up so that everybody could get a chance to answer it. And those people did not answer anymore. More people shifted to the other answer because a lot of people project what they believe is expected of them, but they never really follow through on those things for their own example and their own experience. And social media is really rife with that type of behavior. People
Yes.
will say one thing and do something else. Another
Yep.
way that women have complained about this is that men say, maybe not all men, but take the point. Men say that they want the woman who's natural. They want the woman without the extra makeup. They want the woman without the all of the extra things, and they want her to be natural. They want her to be her natural selves. But when that woman puts a natural picture, nobody responds to it. They
Yep.
all respond to the pictures where she is decked out, glammed up, background this, everything that. So the idea becomes so many people talk about what they know to be right, but they don't actually do it. That statement right there is the blending, the emulsification of everything that I'm saying and what you're saying those women responded to your video with. Yes,
Mhm.
it is intrinsically the woman's choice, but is she really enabled to make it? Not the way that this society functions.
Nope.
Especially if she does make that choice, she's still going to be miscategorized and mislabeled and looked at as negatively for making this choice to not do those things. It's really a mess.
Well, baby, if you listening, I want you all natural. Show me your natural.
Well,
Ain't nobody else got like your picture. I like it, baby.
I'll go a step further with the
Yeah.
the duplicity of men making statements like that, and I always cringe with that because I know for a fact that the pictures that we circulate amongst ourselves of women that we find to be attractive, a lot of them aren't natural like that. So it's like you can't sit here and espouse what you like or what you want, and then you go through and you're liking the pictures or you're circulating pictures of women who are not that.
That's exactly the complaint. Yes. That's exactly
Yeah, I don't, like I tell her, I don't mind the makeup, but I don't. It's just, we've gotten so costumey with the makeup and the lashes that look like rakes that you use on the yard. And
And then they go around and put the same eyelashes on their cars. I'm like, can we retire that? My thing is, I think, for me personally, I love my wife put on a little makeup, but it's I call it subtle sex. It's a nice blend that blends in with her natural skin tone. So it's not that that's gonna be rah at you,
Yeah.
but it's something that enhances the natural beauty that she already possesses. So I do like that. But I also like her when she's not wearing her makeup. I think she's beautiful regardless. So to me, that's yeah. So my thing is, I think a lot of men who say that are men who just it's easier to just go along with what the popular thought process is because you don't have to think hard about your position, right? So a lot of men who say that, in my opinion, are men who aren't really real with themselves and they're just going along with what they've heard because that's the easiest way to go. They haven't intellectualized it. I ain't gonna lie to you, they're not deep enough intellectually to think about how we've been Europeanized.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of men who make those statements, in my opinion, are hypocrites or people who just don't even know what they're talking about.
It's like it's everything now, especially in our community, is hopping on trends, and unfortunately, that's the sad part. And some trends last this long, and so you're agreeing with something that maybe has a lifespan of 2 weeks, maybe 2 years, depending on what the trend is, and so. And which that does hop into finishing this up. The level of respect when it comes to a woman's body is not in good standards. If you look at the news, listen to songs, which we basically stated, watch videos, and or how they are being treated publicly. Men degrade women by using them sexually and financially, not to leave out the abusive act, ranging from emotional to physical, only to have women still woo all over them still. And I think that goes and dives into the point of, okay, I can't leave him because if I'm single, then like you stated, somebody gonna look at me. Oh man, I'm gonna be wrong with her because ain't no man attracted to her or holding on to her, or she can't keep nobody. I can say I have been a witness to a couple of men spewing it out of their mouth. Man, what's wrong with her? She can't never keep a man.
Mm-hmm.
Are not addressing the fact that, unfortunately, the type of men that she's bringing, now I ain't gonna say bringing, agreeing to be in a relationship, just aren't the ideal men that she needs to be with.
On the question, I totally agree. Absolutely agree. Again, it's the woman's responsibility to do all this, and then the men don't take their responsibility for what they may have done to convince her that that isn't the best course for her life. I have another thought that I wanted to share also. On the point of men who are willing to engage in the sexual activity without the commitment to the relationship, have you all heard this notion that I'm about to express right now? There are some men who say, life is so hard for me as a Black man. I don't know if I'm going to get killed on the street. I don't know if I'm going to get killed at work. I don't know if something horrible is happening. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. So in order for me to leave a piece of myself in this world, I need to have a child. And once having that child becomes their motive, they're not really thinking about who will raise the child, what kind of relationship they have with that woman, or any of those other significant points in a whole family situation. They just say very simply, I want to have a child to leave my legacy when the evils of this world take my life. And that
I've heard that.
That's stupid.
I
heard what you said.
I heard that, but so who I had children about was always very important to me. And I'm in love with my wife. We had two wonderful kids, and then the woman who bore my first child, I was in love with her when we were together. It just didn't work out. So my thing is, I was very intentional on who I was dating and who was raising my children, because at the end of the day, this is someone you got to work with for a long time, to help raise your child. So you better make sure you pick good, so that even if it doesn't work out, you have, as far as romantically, you have someone who has some sense about themselves that you can work with, so that the welfare of the child isn't compromised. I was always very intentional about that.
And I can say, me too. It was probably one relationship that I forced because I made a bad choice. And again, goes back to me saying that I can't just lay with somebody without being in a relationship. And I didn't want to be that statistic, part of that manhood, a group of men that treated this person sexually as trash. And so I went back and forced a relationship and ended up with two beautiful kids. So it didn't all end bad, but yeah, I didn't think real good about that situation. So to rectify this situation, just my opinion, until men change the narrative when it comes to how they approach any woman, like treating them with the most respect, going back to what dating someone truly means, the matter of capitalizing on having benefits from women without working for them is going to stay the same, basically, if we don't, as men. Again, yes, like I stated, and women do have the power, and they should press no when it comes down to how men are treating women now. But we still have to, because we got to think about our daughters. There's so many men out there that have daughters that don't want their daughters to be treated like how they're treating women, but they're still doing it. And I feel like you can't go around trying to punch every little boy that sits up here and trying to sex your daughter, but you out here promoting sexual acts. I just don't get that.
So it's funny. Let me jump in right quick. It's funny you say that. Years ago, when I was making poor choices in my marriage, and then I made a post on Facebook. I said, "Men steady trying. Men are steadily trying to prevent their daughters from dating the men that they currently are."
Yes.
Yep.
And we have to be honest with ourselves about that. The reason why we're like that is because we knew some of the things that we used to do, and now we're settled, and now we've had some time to reflect, and then we still have time to realize that we may have hurt some people along the way, and while we didn't necessarily take into consideration their vantage points of why they're hurt, now we have this little girl. See, we didn't have to stay around and pick up the pieces because we left. But we understand fully well that if someone hurts our daughters like that we have to be there to pick up the pieces. And that's a painful process to watch and view. And I think that a lot of men don't face that fact and face that reality. But the truth of the matter is that, your children are going to go through their own dating roller coaster that you did. The only thing that you can do, honestly, and I hope I keep the same energy. It's me to say this now because my daughter's only 5. I hope I keep the same energy when she starts, being up in age, and then boys start looking at everything like that. But we have to understand that even with doing that, a lot of times we end up pushing her to that very dude because we're not willing to have an intellectual conversation about dating.
Yeah.
And we got to stop.
With sex in general, we're not having those conversations.
Because the truth of the matter is, if that tactic truly works, then a lot of us wouldn't be able to get the play that we got anyway. Because we came up against someone we did who was like that. All it did was teach us how to be a little bit more sneaky and how to be a little bit more manipulative of that girl's feelings to get what we want.
And when you talk about the manipulation of her feelings, you remind me of a thought that I had a few minutes ago that women are taught what a man needs as an obligation, but men are taught what a woman needs as a manipulation tactic. Just like you said a few minutes ago, when women hear men are visual creatures, men have sex drives, you have to comply or somebody else will, and all of those types of things, it elevates what they need. But when men hear women need to be emotionally supported, tell her that you love her, hold her hand, give her a little kiss, all of those things are designed to get what you want from her and then leave. When we talk about changing the narrative, that's one of the things that needs to be very, very different as we move forward collectively. It's going to be very difficult for those few voices in the wilderness to make these kind of proclamations, and the whole world at large is still on a different page about everything. But somewhere it has to start. It has to begin. It has to have the seeds planted, and hopefully it'll germinate in enough people that the shift will change, and that women will stop being labeled bad when they make the kinds of choices that you're saying that they need to make for better relationships, and not allowing men to use them for the sexual expression and nothing more.
Yeah, so with that, I stress more that the tables won't truly start turning until women start taking their body seriously as being worth more than just a beneficial piece in this world. And men need to know that women are worth more than that. And again, it's not pointing blame on either side, but
both responsibility.
Yeah, it's responsibility on both parts. And to end it, I've heard that I've even thought in my head plenty of just to hear him say it. And I've actually heard it on the radio. Well, if a woman closes her legs and protest, what are men gonna do?
Sometimes that's when rape happens. But to your point, then
I mean, I didn't mean to laugh, but you're absolutely right. I was just
No, but seriously.
The timing of what you said was so perfect.
Oh,
Understood.
And not again anything away from Megan and Nikki. They feel what they're doing is some form of empowerment, and the record companies are pushing this degrading form of visualization and making it normal. So, we have our little girls looking at this, and it's almost like that. What you were saying, you've gone through what you've gone through, so that allows you to sit and say, okay, hey, I don't want my daughter dating what possibly I used to be. And that's even with me. I wasn't out there to the point to where, I was jumping from house to house, but
Right.
I still made bad decisions. And so, I don't want my, even her daughters, I see them as mine. So I have to show that, hey, this is what you need to be looking for. Not saying that it has to be ideally me to a character degree or whatnot, or, like her dad or whatever, but just showing some form of emotional stability, financial stability, not to a degree to where, that person has to just automatically, because a lot of men just feel that as long as I'm taking care of bills, there's nothing else I got to do.
Mm.
It's a whole nother story. But so to end it, when you guys, what can you give when it comes to trying to get men to understand that having that ideal of just using a woman for benefits is really not, not only is it hindering that woman, but it is in so many ways causing problems with men and generations.
You know what I think? And this may be oversimplification, but truthfully, we're always trying to raise. We always try to protect our girls, and we're raising them a certain way and trying to teach them these, virtuous that. What if we put that same energy to how we raise our boys? What if we put energy in raising these boys from a young age to protect their token, to truly value a woman for who she is, rather than what she can do for you? I think it starts. We have to start implanting this, and it starts with me. I got two boys, and I tell them all the time, I want them to be better than Dad. I want you to be better than me. I don't, So I think if we can raise these young men to truly value women for who they are, and not just for what immediate gratification you can get out of them. I think that starts there, because we got to get rid of the notion that boys will be boys.
Yeah.
Because that is hurting our community.
Yeah.
It's hurting our community in a very, because what it does is it's an accelerant to the systemic issues that are already plaguing our community as far as law enforcement and black men. That's a whole other topic. So I think if we start raising, because what it is we have a lot of men who like vaginas but don't necessarily like women. And they don't necessarily value women. We have to raise boys, and I got that from my wife. She gonna give it if I don't quote. I got that from her. But Sharice Dawson, shout out to you for that point, because it was excellent, very eloquent. So my thing is, like, once we have to do that first, so that when they grow up and become men, they won't move like how we were taught to move. Because that's something that's taught to young boys. That's something that's innate within them. That's something that's taught to us from an early age, whether someone showed us or pulled us to the side or trying to put us on game, and it is crippling our community.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with what you said. And I was first going to say that you said that we need to put the same energy into teaching young men how to grow up as we teach young women. And the energy is there. Just the focus of it is what needs to change. The focus of it toward guys is you have sex as much as you want to. Women are conquests. They're accessories to your life. They're not really partners. They're not really human beings even. They're just to cook, clean, have your kids, and give you as much sex as you want. Beyond that, she has no value. Don't pay attention to what she thinks, because women are emotional and then they just go on. So that mentality in the young men is part of the problem. And as they grow up with that mentality, we see that manifest in society. When a woman is attacked, what happens? She is blamed. Her skirt was too short. Her dress was too tight. She was in the wrong place. And we teach our young women to protect themselves, lace your keys in your fingers, don't go anywhere alone, don't be in the dark by yourself, and all of these types of things. Young women would not have to bear that burden if men weren't rapists.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the ultimate societal manifestation of what you're talking about in teaching young boys the right way to be, versus putting all of the burden on women, that this is how you're supposed to be, and this bubble here is supposed to be your lane, but men are over here doing everything else they want to do. No, the whole paradigm needs to shift. And you're absolutely right that men, young boys and men, should be taught not to do the things that women are taught to protect themselves from.
Well, I totally appreciate it. I do think that was one heck of a show. And for you guys that are still watching or may even watch after this is posted, the last show for season 3 is the second part, but looking on the woman's side of the spectrum, where I can have sex with no emotional attachment. Not sure if you guys are wanting to return. If so, definitely you can. But I would love to have a couple of women on to have a little bit more definition of what this means to them. Because like I was stating earlier, I hear this a lot and I see it. And like you stated, is one of those things, and which makes sense to me now how they can do it, where, oh, I'm finna show you I can go out here and have just like a man and have with 5 men and it don't bother me type thing. And it shouldn't be that way. But guys, like I said, next week's gonna be last show for season 3, and we're gonna start up our podcast. And if you haven't listened to our first season of our podcast, shame on you. It's called Sofa Pillow Talk. I just put it in the comments. You can find it on Google Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, Anchor, Apple. So you need to go ahead and catch up on the first season. It's just random talks, but this season we're going to basically, the theme is changing the narrative. So again, if you're wanting to be a part of next week's show, just DM me, let me know, and see if we have a spot open. And with that being said, guys, I totally appreciate the lovely night, and stay blessed. And ladies and men, if it's just one person making a change, that's better than none.
And go Lakers.
Oh my goodness. Let me get off of here.